Hello everyone, welcome back to Red Doe Reads. Today we have r/entitled people. If you want me to cover some specific subreddit in the next video, leave it in the comments. My lovely entitled grandmother. This has been going for all 18 years that I've been alive, but was happening before I even existed as well. Some of this stuff in here definitely feels like stuff Reddit would absolutely love, so I thought I'd finally share it somewhere. Here's a list of some of the things my entitled grandmother, my father's mother, has done since I was born. Basically asked for joint custody of me. I'm not kidding. When I was an infant or toddler, she seriously asked my parents if I could spend 2-3 days at her house weekly, and then every other weekend spend the entire weekend sleeping over at her house as well. Also, she thought my mom breastfeeding me was hogging me. She didn't like clothes my mother bought for me, so she would buy clothes herself, cut tags off, and wash them and hide them in my closet. That was in my house. She would also do this if she didn't like stuff my parents owned. She'd go out and buy stuff and just stick it in our kitchen drawers. When my mom started making an effort to get us out of the house more so she couldn't randomly stop by to visit so often, she started spying on the calendar we had in our house, and Dad would instead randomly stop by at the events we'd be out at. When I was a bit older but still needed babysitting for the summer, she would come over still in pajamas claiming she hadn't time to get ready. So then I'd have to go spend the day at her house instead so she could get dressed. Luckily, this stopped when poor innocent me went, "Actually, Grandma, I'm allowed to stay home alone now, so you just go get dressed and I will wait here." I've been the artist of the family since I was a kid. She'd constantly ask me to draw her stuff. But then, if she didn't like what I drew, she'd try to jokingly steal another drawing that I'd have made for myself instead. This never went well, lol. When I was like 13 and she was over, she proceeded to say, "Baby cakes, come sit on my lap," where she was on the couch. Again, I was 13 and way beyond the age of sitting on people's laps. She thinks my mother brainwashed me into hating her. But what actually happened was Kid Me started noticing how weird she acted compared to my other grandma, and when I asked my mother about it, my mother basically said, "Yeah, she's crazy." And I had no trouble believing her. Ongoing issues now. I cannot tell her about anything I'm remotely interested in because she latched onto it and tried to use it as some way to get me to spend more time with her. Most of you would probably think, why not just spend time with her? But after everything else on this list, I honestly just don't like being around her a lot. One of the reasons she got a phone was for the purpose of texting me in particular, and to these days still pouty that it did not work in getting me to talk to her more. Also, when I didn't reply to her weird texts, she'd call up my father and whine to him about how I never talked to her, and then he'd get mad at me over it. This also never went well. She's the reason why I hate all of the pet names: baby, baby cakes, babes, my sweet, sweetie, etc. Because to this day, me now being 18, she's the only person in my whole family who calls me these names, and it feels like I'm treated like a child. Her newest scheme is that she thinks if she can get me alone with her, my mother won't be able to brainwash me into hating her, and has yet to realize somehow that it has nothing to do with my mother at all and everything to do with how I myself don't actually want to be alone with her. There are more instances, but the list is legit so long. If anyone would want to hear more, I will happily share though. Update for anyone who may see this. She apparently asked my father yesterday if she was coming to my graduation at school. She's had barely anything to do with my high school upbringing, and also I'm only allowed 3 guests, which would obviously be my parents and not other relatives. For clarity, we're already having a family graduation party for me a few days later that she's aware of and is coming to. Also, none of my other relatives have even asked if they'd be coming to the legit graduation because I'm assuming they rightfully guessed there isn't the space, and also it's for me and my parents more. Anyways, I had to just learn this from my mother though, because apparently my father thought it sounded so ridiculous, he didn't even bother mentioning it to me. Also, there will be a part 2, so we have more awesome stories about this lovely lady. When I was first reading this story, my first reaction was to feel sorry for the grandmother, because she feels like a legit lonely person who just wants to spend time with her only granddaughter. But then I remembered my own grandpa, with whom I was extremely close when I was really young, because I really enjoyed spending time with him. We would play some sports, we would go eat out together, I could talk to him. But then, as I grew up, his attitude towards me never really changed. He still treated me like a baby. And even now, when I am an adult woman, whenever we talk on the phone, he tries to school me, he tries to explain me every way of how my life is wrong and why I should live it the other way. Also, I have a story about my own high school graduation party. We didn't have any limits on the number of the guests who would come with every person graduating from high school, so I had 7 people who came. It was parents, it was my sister, it was my grandpa and grandma. I think my aunt was there too, so it was crazy. I remember I was so embarrassed because most of people had their parents and their siblings. That's it. And there was me with my fabulous group of 7 people. And after the graduation party, all the graduates had like a joint dinner in a restaurant, so it was all of us. And you can also, if you wanted, you could bring some of your guests with you. They would sit separately, but they would still just be a part of the celebration. And all of my other classmates had maybe 7, 10 guests with them who were their parents or siblings or whoever. And you can guess it. I had all 7 of my family members. Again, it was so embarrassing. Oh, this story was legit so long, so come back tomorrow for the next part of this story. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel, because I really want to get to 200 subscribers as soon as possible. So if you subscribe, you will make my day. Entitled man debated cost of gas at the pump. I was having a bad day after my bike that I custom built fell out of the back of my truck because I forgot to close the tailgate. It got all messed up and I had to fix it later at home, but it ruined my day. So I just wanted to get gas and go home. Then, while waiting in line at the station, the guy in front of me took absolutely forever. He kept walking away, and when the attendant gave him his change, he just stared at the receipt for a while, then started debating something with the employee, then went over to the office. The guy who was riding with this dude looked very embarrassed and looked at me like he was saying sorry. The driver finally came back, then just muled around the car a bit more before finally getting in. And I think I saw the other guy in the car smack him on the shoulder to get moving. And then he finally did. I asked the attendant what was that about? And the guy was trying to debate the cost of gas and get the employee to give him a discount to try and get some of his money back. It didn't work, so he asked for smaller bills for change instead, which took more time. This guy just didn't give a crap about anyone in line. Also, this was already the cheapest gas station in town. Who the heck needs to debate prices there? Well, apparently this gentleman does. I wonder if he tries to haggle at Costco. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed. You can also watch this awesome video or that awesome playlist. See you next time!